Hey everyone, this is a quick follow-up to my review of Rock Paper Pencil version 2. Rock Paper Pencil is a textured screen protector and a metal ballpoint nib for your Apple Pencil, and they pair together to make the experience of drawing on your iPad a lot closer to drawing with a pencil or a pen on actual paper. So today I'm going to give you an honest 1 month follow-up. There's nothing fancy going on here, no fancy camera work. What I really want to just tell you is how has my experience been using this product? And the two things that I want to talk about, of course, are the two things that make this entire product up, which are the nibs and the screen protector itself. So in version 1, the nibs, they wore down very fast. This was something I talked about in the follow-up review to version 1. And the screen protector itself got kind of scratched up as I used it. In version 2, Astropad improved the nibs by making them stronger, and they also ended up making them sharper. And the sharpness of this nib, I think, was meant to make it more accurate, so that when you're drawing, especially in smaller details, that tiny little point will just feel a lot more precise, maybe like a very fine black fine line or something like that. In version 2, the screen protector got stickier, and I'll talk about what that means, and it also got tougher or more durable. So by stickier, in version 1, the screen protector attached using magnets on just the two long edges. And then in version 1, they switched to what they call nano cling. And I guess it's kind of like a weak adhesive that's just strong enough to make this thing stay put on your iPad screen. But it also attached all around on every edge of the screen protector. And I think the product itself, the whole screen protector, actually sat flatter on the screen. Some people complained that there was a gap between the screen protector and the glass of the iPad, which made the drawing experience a bit distracting. That wasn't my experience, but that's one of the changes they made. So the questions that I had for version 2 was, this was my number one question. Were the sharper nibs going to scratch the surface of this screen protector just because they just felt really sharp to me? So I asked, how is it possible that they wouldn't scratch a screen protector? That's a double negative, but what I'm saying is it just felt like impossible that this couldn't scratch. So that's one thing that I'm going to look at. Did it scratch? The other thing that I want to know with the nibs is whether they wear down as much as the first ones did. So with the screen protector itself, I want to know, are there scratches? And then aside from that, I just want to know, what are my observations in general? So why don't we just get on to what these observations are. So let's just start with the nibs. What I'm curious about, I haven't even checked yet, but I want to know, I'm going to compare this to a brand new nib that I got out of this package here. They come with two of these nibs. And so I'm looking at both nibs right now. And so the one in my hand here on my right hand has never been used, and the one in my left hand has been used for about a month. I am comparing these, and what I see is actually almost no visible wear. Maybe if I look really hard and I'm being super picky, maybe there's like a tiny bit of wear, but I'd say doesn't look like it. So on to the other question about scratching. This turns us to the screen protector itself. Now, I've had this on for the full month. I've never taken it off. And so I can tell you just right away, this pen tip scratched this screen. I don't know if I'll be able to replicate the experience for you here, but as I'm drawing and pushing hard as I do when I draw, I have all kinds of different pressures depending on what I'm doing. As I'm going like this, sometimes it'll get stuck. And I think it gets stuck in a past scratch, and it will actually like pierce through that sketch and get stuck. Like I don't know if you heard that just now, but I I just gave that just maybe a little bit harder than I normally draw, but I wasn't like reefing it, but you could hear it kind of started skipping. And if you're an artist, you're drawing, sometimes you're feeling it and you're going to push hard sometimes. And so a screen protector is going to have to deal with that no matter what it is. And so that was like a big issue for me, is as this screen got more scratched up, the nib itself would actually catch, and then it would be this very jarring experience because I forget that the screen protector's on there and it feels like my nib is actually scratching the glass of the screen. Thankfully it's not, because there's a screen protector on it. But perhaps if you were thinking about just using these nibs directly on your glass screen, maybe don't do that. So let me just get my notes back on here so I can see what I'm talking about. So the first thing I want to talk about actually before I take off the screen protector is this. I don't know how visible it will be for you. It might be a bit more visible if I can turn off the iPad here. So I think you can see the oil slick pattern there, and I don't know what that is. I don't know whether that's residue from the screen cleaner that I used, or if it's just like the adhesive that they use. There might be some kind of light adhesive that they use in this product, and it's leaving this kind of chemical blotch, but it's there. But I've lived with that the whole month, and it hasn't really bothered me. At times, depending on how sunny it is, that might kind of be visible a little bit. But to be honest, even when I'm drawing without a screen protector, my screen gets gunk on it and I live with it. I see through it, I see past it, I ignore it, it doesn't matter. But that is a thing that's happening, and it didn't happen with version 1. Now, the other thing, as I take this off, of course, is just the amount of scratches on there, including some pretty severe jabs, or like wherever the sharp pen tip kind of actually penetrated the surface and skipped over. That's what you're seeing here. And I'll just quickly put that back on. Technically, I should wash my screen again before doing this, but in case those scratches weren't visible, it's just scratched up, and I'm not surprised at all. That was something I was expecting. While the other version 1 screen protector did get scratched, it didn't get scratched as severely. Most of the scratches that I had with version 1 were actually up here in this kind of pattern as I would go up to my little menu items in here in Procreate. And for some reason, that's where most of my scratches were. But this one, all the scratches are in the drawing area. And so to answer the question that I had asked at the beginning of the month was, is this little sharp tip going to scratch? A big fat yes. Yes, this nib scratch. So I would say, way to go, Astropad. You nailed it with the nibs themselves. They stayed sharp and didn't wear down. I don't think I would have needed to replace this. What I did notice though is that as this thing got scratched, it became so scratched that it would start tearing into the plastic, and that was a very jarring experience. So at the end of the day, what I recommend Rock Paper Pencil now that I've used it for a month, given all these issues, I'll just say that the overall drawing experience, when it's not scratched and you're feeling really like this is pencil on paper, I'd say that overall experience is amazing, and I think it's worth giving it a try. That being said, I can't overlook the fact that this thing still gets so badly scratched that it's not the nibs that I need to replace, but the screen protector itself. And unfortunately, Astropad doesn't give you multiple screen protectors, they give you multiple nibs. So the question is, after 1 month of using this thing, is would I recommend it? Well, put it this way, I'm actually going to be removing this thing and putting it away. I'm taking my nib off. I'm putting my OEM Apple nib back on my Apple Pencil, and I'm going back to glass. This is going to be my first time drawing on glass in a long time. I would say, in the sense that it's a beautiful experience drawing compared to just drawing on the glass, and even just the feeling of my hand on this glass feels sticky, I'm going to say yes, in the sense it's worth a shot. It's worth a shot. But I'd also say, I don't know. I'm not going to say a hard no, but I think Astropad has some work to do to figure out how to make sure their sharp nibs don't scratch the heck out of the screen protector itself. I think maybe they should make the nibs just a little bit duller again and somehow make the screen protector itself tougher. even tougher, if that was even possible. So if that's a possibility, I'd be looking for that in version 3. I think anyone making a screen protector, and especially Astropad, where they're coming up with these 2 points of possible failure, being the nibs and the screen protector, I think they just have their work cut out for them. There's probably a reason why Apple didn't make their own textured surface, because anything with a texture is going to be vulnerable to wear of some kind. It's either going to wear down the stylus, whether it's made out of plastic or metal, because that texture is basically a tiny abrasive or like a fine grit sandpaper. Or the surface itself being textured has all these like little surface flaws, if you will, that can be susceptible to scratching and wear. You can't beat actual pure glass and rubbery plastic for something that's not going to wear down, except maybe these tips. But I honestly replace my OEM tips maybe once a year. I really don't replace these very often. And when I do, it's like a barely perceptible change, because whether this thing is worn down or brand new, it usually works exactly as I planned. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for future videos like this and regular episodes of my podcast, Thoughts on Illustration.